Hello, hello. That'll entail yet. It is Friday, and I didn't have chat open. I didn't realize everyone's already here. Except Alden, A50K Cal, Kevin, and Shaky. So I worked a lot yesterday on the localization stuff, and now if you go to weblate.skeleseller.com, you can see a project there. You can click through some of these things and see some English strings. And this is not everything. Is there a way to see everything? I wonder. Anyway, whatever. There's a whole bunch of strings here. Um, People could technically sign up to do translations, but even this isn't really finished yet. But setting this up took a long time, and I wrote a bunch of notes, and I needed to set up a new GitHub repo, a new GitHub account so that I could give access to Weblate, then Weblate itself, which needed a new Gmail address. And then there was just a whole bunch of configuration that was somewhat difficult to do. And in the end, I got a bunch of notes. So if anyone else ever wants to do this, I can eventually put these online. And yeah, it boiled down to this. So yeah, I think we're done with that for now. And I want to move back to game dev stuff. And then I wrote this down here too. I can't actually accept any volunteers yet until I've got enough of this figured out. So it's just whatever. I'll leave the instructions online. Let's delete this. So figure out what we're even doing today. Localization stuff should be reserved for off-stream work. Yep. If we switch to anything else, I should probably merge my branch. Yeah. Think we should work toward finishing story mode. Fixtures like reusing locations, adding content, bosses, items. I think that's the bulk of the remaining content work, right? Content, allow for reusing locations. Final cutscene. And then this stuff. Balancing. Okay, let's look at this and figure out what this is all about. Because I haven't looked at this in forever. It's been, what is that? 3 months and a week or two? Like 3.5 months. Completed to-do items. Where's the remaining stuff? Was it just something about using bosses? Work for later? Oh, I see. I filed this somewhere else. Balance everything. Allow adventure-specific items to be quest inputs. We need shelving in the warehouse. What about the whole boss stuff? I didn't do that. That's weird. Yeah, that's weird. Issues 1125 to 1128. Balance the treasure feature. Make this look good. This cannot be right. Yeah, this can't be right. I definitely talked about putting bosses on the overworld map, and I never did that. And there was even a picture of it somewhere. Yeah, this. Whatever happened to this? Huh. Bosses should show up on the map to make it clearer when you can battle them. It would also free up locations to be used for regular fights. Still have to upgrade the portal after beating the boss to get to the next location. Boss location will be accessible. Tips will have to change. May need to think about how this impacts the demo versus final version. Demo may not use the full map. You can no longer repeat boss fights. Hey, Magnetic Mind. And hey, Athletics. Position for an adamant heavy dance. That'd be pretty nice. All right, I do think I want to do this. But we got to really like plan out this feature, and I want to make sure that the design is solid before I do it. Because this has a lot of small implications. So let's click story mode here and click continue. So if we look at the map right now, the way that this works is you start with just the forest and you work your way through the whole map. And then the canyon and the crypt are both boss locations. And you see the little skull on them here. So canyon has a skull, crypt has a skull. Once you fight the boss, you cannot fight it again. And you can't do that location again. So the canyon is like a one-time thing. And this also kind of confuses people a bit. So what we were thinking of doing is something like this. I know this is in negative color, but well, let's just change it for now. So we do something like this where we show the ogre over the canyon, meaning you could fight the ogre here, but then once you've beaten the ogre, now you can go to the canyon. And I want to just think about how this is all going to work. What do we say here? Re-examining. All right, so it's today. I like that idea. I mean, I like the idea too. I think there are little pieces of this we have to work out. I want to be able to code the rest of the story mode content, which means tackling bosses on the battle map. So my questions for right now are, how many bosses do we need? 4 to 5 more? So like 6 to 7. How do we accommodate having 6 to 7 bosses? Like, do we have one per location and just make bosses more dense? Or like boss appearances more dense toward the end of the game? I mean, that's not that hard to do. Like if we have one here and we have one here, first of all, if you can then go to those locations afterward, then it means that we need to, then we've essentially added 2 locations to the battle map. That's another thing. How do we deal with adding at least 2 locations to the battle map? Do we shift enemies around? Do we have enough unique graphics for this? What else? What else? What else? What else? We show you the rewards that you get. Let me set this back to English. Oh, that's weird. I think the cursor's just making this hard. Oh, man. There are going to be a lot of little edge cases here, but let's just focus on the design for now. So yeah, how do we show you what you earned by beating the boss? Is it even worthwhile to do this? So if I just take a picture of this, where do we show you tips on how the boss works? How do we code this? We probably need to tell you the gimmick of each fight. Maybe it should be when hovering over the enemy in battle. So that we don't count on people reading the battle map. Or we don't require people to read the battle map. Any other questions here? And what about repeating bosses? I guess we could do that separately. Where's that picture again of the overworld map? Yeah, I want to get a picture of this in proper color. This was just a mock-up that we had. I mean, it's pretty obvious because there's a bunch of blue rectangles all over it. But still, I think it's a pretty decent mock-up. Like, we will show this over the location. And then how do you get to... You have to upgrade the portal to see the boss? Can you just try tackling them at any point? Do you have to upgrade the portal after beating the boss? What else? The way I'm picturing this is you would click the actual ogre over here. And then instead of saying start battle forest, it might say start battle ogre, and it might show a skull over there. But I think one of the nice things about this, it'll be hopefully very obvious that you're about to fight a boss. Right now, what happens a lot of times is people start this battle and they're like, oh, it's a bigger enemy than normal. Why is that? But if we just show the enemy directly on the overworld, I think it'll be more obvious. And then do we show them by default? I don't think we should. Yeah, I think you should have to unlock the next location to see the boss. Otherwise, the bosses will just always show up. We could also just always show the next boss. Alternatively, we could just always show the next boss, but not all of them. This wouldn't work when looping through locations, though, since it would show a boss on a location that you've already beaten. Hey, player. And yeah, do we need any extra locations? More locations on the map? I don't think so. The other big question about this is, okay, so we have however many locations right now, and I want you to be able to work your way through the map a second time around, and then that's it. Then it's the end of the game. But do we have enough interesting stuff to have you unlock that to justify having 2 rounds through the map? Like at some point, you'll have all the buildings except for the treasure room, and then it's just going to be the treasure room that's kind of interesting. I don't think it's going to be interesting for like 2 hours. But I guess we can speed up or slow down the game based on that. It almost makes me wonder if we should have fewer locations. Let me think about this. At the end of the game, okay, so if we have 2 bosses the first time through, which we're going to add 2 locations if we do that. But anyway, if we have 2 bosses the first time through, then we'll have the final boss there, and we want like maybe 3 or 4 more. So we put 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we could just put them like every other place. Yeah. Is a boss a location? Do we have enough game content to justify going through the map twice? Like, we have a lot of the balance figured out right now. I don't want to mess with all this stuff. Hey, Cuddlefish. Yeah, I don't want to mess with this. Also, should we do anything else, like change when you get adventurers? Maybe not. Okay, so let's plan some general answers for this stuff. So yeah, let's just copy all these things again down here, and I'll just start answering them. So how do we accommodate having 6 to 7 bosses? Do we have 1 per location and just make boss appearances more dense? Yes, 1 boss per location. We probably put 1 in the canyon and 1 in the crypt, just like right now. Oh yeah, what happens after a battle? Oh man. What happens after a battle with the boss? Can you click repeat and have it fight the regular location? I want to try to figure out every possible little side effect that we have ahead of time, because there shouldn't be too much surface area for that. And the more I can figure out, the more I can try to solve those problems before we've started coding. Probably put 1 in the canyon, 1 in the crypt, just like right now. Then after beating the Inferno, we put 1 in every other location. So canyon, jungle, I don't know what the other locations are called. Canyon, jungle, waterways, Inferno. Yeah. Hey, Mr. Demon Wolf. Okay, so yeah, I think that's fine. How do we deal with adding at least 2 locations to the battle map? Do we shift enemies around? Do we have enough unique enemy graphics for this? I don't know how many more enemy graphics we have. Monsters. So what are we using and what aren't we using? Icons. Whoops. All right, so we're definitely using the bat. We're not using this, I think. I can't recall if we're using the enchantress. We are in where? The Inferno. Okay. Hey, Quilly. I recognize that name. How you doing? I'm guessing you switched accounts since the last time you were here? Surely it can't be that hard to buy another pixel art monster pack, right? Well, these were all drawn by Quickie Joe. So, I mean, I could ask Quickie Joe to draw more, I guess, but if we can avoid that, that'd be nice. I don't think we're using the pixie graphic. And I don't think we're using the scorpion or the rock monster. So we have a few of these we could use, but then I think we run out of unique ones. Is the Yeti a big one? How do I look at this? 64 by 40. I don't know. What, pixie, skeleton, scorpion. Red Yeti, no. So it can't be a boss. The snake was a boss. Wait, where are the other bosses then? Maybe I never added them. Boss? Add plant boss, slime boss, Yeti boss, Phoenix, Enchantress, and final boss. That's a snake. Graphics. Okay, let me figure out what this even is. Plant boss. Maybe I put them in the code base. Yo, man, these look great. Okay, I haven't shown them yet, but let me see. Maybe they're in unused. No, only Big Snake is there. Okay, interesting. Okay, so we got some crazy good looking graphics for these. I love this. This is fantastic. This is the Phoenix boss. Then we have the plant boss. And then somewhere there are more. So plant and Phoenix. Slime boss. What does this one look like? I should probably paste these somewhere so I don't lose this. Yeah, let's put this here. Let's put this, whoops. Put this over here. All right, we got a slime boss. We got a Yeti boss. And what else? Slime Yeti and then Enchantress. Graphics are here. Let's go get this. I think this is just the regular Enchantress. Yeah, but it's got a bunch of shadow graphics for the adventurers, which is crazy. This is going to take some time to do. And then the final boss is the snake boss. So how many total have we not added to the game? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we'd have 8 bosses. So let me go figure out, what did I write down over here? So 6 more bosses, I guess, is what we're doing. So I said 2 in the first run through the map, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, this will work. Oh, nice, magnetic bind. And hey, Codex, would the current boss locations start supporting normal battles? I think so. Yeah, and that's the thing I gotta also figure out, because it's possible if the bosses are not on a location in particular. Are the bosses on a location itself, or are they just blocking the next location? It may change how repeat battle works. He kills you on turn 3. He splits into 2 other slimes. Yeah, so let me show the boss graphics again here. Here's the Phoenix. The idea for this one is like any other Phoenix. It's going to revive itself, hopefully. It has a special revive graphic, too. Then the plant boss. I didn't have a gimmick made for this one. The slime boss. No gimmick for that one either. No gimmick for the Yeti. The graphics all look great, though. And then the Enchantress would summon shadow adventurers to fight against you. So it could summon any of the ones that we already had at the time that we made this, which is what, 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, so we have 8 of them. So 2 are missing. I guess Mushy and the Spirit Caller. Yeah, not that it matters. I might not even use all of these. I might just use like a Shadow Mage, a Shadow Rogue, and a Shadow Paladin or something. But yeah, I really like how all these look, and I think they are great. We might need to make special boss locations for them. In fact, I think that would probably work best. Yeah, I think that would work best. I like the idea that bosses are in their own locations that can't be repeated. It means we can construct a battle map just for them. It also means that once you've beaten the boss, that window can't be repeated. Icy map for the Yeti. Although, how do we handle that? Like, what if it's not in the way? So let's say we want to put the Yeti here. Let me get a bigger brush size here. Yeah, like let's say we want the Yeti here. And they're supposed to stop you from getting to the jungle the second time around. It doesn't really look like they're in the way. I mean, we could always just show the boss in the same location. A boss could just show up here, and you just have to click them in order to advance. Maybe... Maybe it shows on the location, but it's not really that location. It's just like an unlock button. Could draw a road on the map. I think that'd be the most straightforward approach. Yeah. Oh, then we need more graphics too. We could show the boss instead of an unlock button. We could show the boss on the way to the next location. Whoops. We could always show the boss in the same spot on the map. All right, so yeah, 1 boss per location. I think this is fine. I don't know why that was even a question. Probably 1 in the canyon, 1 in the crypt, then after being the inferno, we put 1 on every. Wait a second, no, I said we have 6 other bosses, don't we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, that means 8 total. Oh, I only planned for 6 total then. Oh, so we need to change this a little bit. We have 1 here and then 1 here and then 4 in the next go. Maybe we should do 3 here, 1 there, 1 there, 1 there. And then we need 5 more after that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Okay, so first run would be Canyon, Crypt, Inferno. Second run would be Canyon, Jungle, Crypt, Deep Forest, and then Inferno. So this would be the snake. This is the ogre. This is the dragon. This is, I don't know what, the phoenix maybe? Canyon, jungle, crypt. So deep forest would be the plant boss. This would maybe be the enchantress. And we have 2 more. What are the other 2? Slime and a yeti. So I guess this could be the slime and this could be the yeti. And we could say it's like the ice canyon or something now. Exactly. But yeah, this would probably work. I think this makes a decent amount of sense. So cool. And we could swap these 2, plant boss and this. Or plant. Slime or plant. Yeah, probably plant since it's a jungle, and probably slime. just because I guess that fits. Then we end up with 2 new locations you can fight in. We could also just remove these locations from the game. It's just the boss node, and there is no fighting in the canyon afterward. Yeah. Could show a boss node instead of a location. Or we basically do it like we do now and not add 2 extra locations. The canyon is the boss. Well, the snake has to be the final boss because that's the whole point of the game. You died from a snake, so you got to kill the snake at the end. Where is that? Here. This guy's going to drop an antidote and trigger the final cutscene. Okay, so yeah, are the bosses on a location themselves? I kind of like the idea that we're not adding new locations because then we don't have to balance adding 2 extra locations and see how that changes anything. Yeah, I think I'm leaning toward this. Is the boss. So what would this look like exactly? I guess pretty much just like what it looks like now. We just show a boss over the location. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Gotta have epic battle music for that final boss fight. It's just like hiss dot wave and we just loop it. It's not even battle music. It's just constant hissing. You show a bunch of snake babies that are sad. Yeah, I like that. Although I think the achievement is just going to be you beat the game. We probably should have an achievement for that. Oh yeah, I think I'm leaning toward this. It works just like how it works now. So basically, the boss is just a visualization of whether you've beaten that location yet. So we would show something like this. And that just indicates that you haven't beaten the canyon yet. Then as soon as you've beaten the canyon, it says you can't repeat boss fights, just like it says now. And yeah, I think that's actually minimal implementation too, which is pretty nice. So yeah, I like this a lot. All right, do we need more locations on the map? I don't think so. Plus the repeat is adding how many? 1, 2, 3. Oh, it's not really adding those though if bosses are going to be there. Oh, this doesn't work. This doesn't work for the second run through the map though, because we need to cram 5 bosses in. Oh man. Yeah, so the second time you fight this, we said it was going to be the Yeti, I guess. So now imagine a Yeti shows here. And then you beat the Yeti and you just move on to the next location. Maybe it actually could work. We have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we need to show 5 more bosses. So there'd be 3 actual locations you could fight in. We could just allow for 3 new locations this way. I don't know how fun that would be. I also don't know how long it would take you to do that. Because my suspicion, the bosses are all supposed to have a gimmick. And the gimmick may be something like can only take 1 damage at a time. So you need to figure out the party composition that's going to actually let you win this. My suspicion is that people will just grind their way through and kind of just ignore the gimmick. And by doing so, sort of trivialize the battles. I mean, it is a semi-idle game. So I got to think of how long it's going to take them to do this. How would I feel about only having 3 locations the second time you fight? I don't love it. Um, we could allow you to repeat boss battles by default, but if they're gonna get stronger, then I don't know. Yeah, the big question is just how many total locations should be on the map for the game to be fun for about 5 hours. Here, Sal. Thank you. It's nice to be getting back to some actual game stuff. I will say that. I just dropped the location display on the map. Just show a boss blocking the path somewhere. Easier to fit in as needed. I guess if we did that, we could just delete the canyon and delete the crypt. No, wait, we can't though. Because, yeah, okay, we can't. Yeah, the problem is that bosses are not in the same spots depending on which run you are through the map. The other way we could do this though, I guess, is we expand the actual map. So this is not the total space. You can like double it. Imagine out to the right side here. You could just keep scrolling. And that way it's just one contiguous block of stuff. And you can always go back to any old location. I don't like that for a bunch of reasons. For one, customers will still desire items from the old locations, but there's going to be no real reason to like go back to the forest just to get them a potion. So I like the idea of upgrading the locations and getting deeper into them. We need one location to represent two different places. There's a multiple possible instances. This shouldn't actually be too bad. We just check whether you've unlocked looping and you've beaten the location. And then show different instance data for it. There could even be first run instance data and second run instance or ID for each location. All right, still haven't fully figured this out. So if we want to block the locations from you repeating them, what do I think about this? If we yeah, okay. I think the real question is how many locations should you be able to repeat after beating the map once? And I don't see why this can't just be all of them. I think this is the wrong question. Whether it's 3 or 8 doesn't make too much of a difference. It's mostly how fast you progress through them. And I think it feels better to feel like you're progressing through many of them. Oh man. Okay. Well, 2, 4, 5, 6. We had 6 unique locations you could repeat in. What if we just kept the 6 locations you could repeat battles in? Forest, volcano, jungle, waterways, deep forest, inferno. And got rid of the canyon and crypt. Feels like a shame to not use the graphics that we already have. Plus, the roads only connect in one way. And people do want to fight there. It's a selectable location. So yeah, I think we do need to, like, you unlock a location and it shows a boss on it. I think that when you unlock a location with a boss, it just shows the boss on that location. Beating the boss lets you fight at that location. Regular enemies at that location. Yeah, that's it. So the second time through the map, are you unlocking locations at all? Are you just like, does it lock the whole map again? Hey, Obama Envy, how's it going? God, I'm so confused about what to do here. Does it lock the whole map again? If it does lock the whole map, then you wouldn't be able to grind older places for items. We'd have to assume that you could beat the newest one, which may not be doable. What did I have written here originally? All right, yeah, reuse locations the size of the battle map. I don't want to get too big. I'm still happy with that. I like the idea of progressing farther into each region. Choice of locations can still be linear. Once a location is no longer accessible, we stop you from needing those items. Bosses show on the map to make it clearer when you can battle them. And also free up locations to be used for regular fights. You'd still have to upgrade the portal before beating or after beating the boss to get to the next location, but the boss location will be accessible. Yeah. You can no longer repeat boss fights. At some point, we can add this back in. When repeating the map, we don't need to vary locations by monster or monster ability variety. Bosses will still achieve that goal. We do need to vary the gameplay a bit so it doesn't feel stale. This is where the treasure system would come in. Crafting is pointless. If you ever make space for anything in the town, you can move the enchanter and cut the warehouse in half vertically. Vault. Show another cutscene. Oh yeah, upgrade portal cutscene. Don't you make your team stronger without battling? You do, but my point was like, let's say you beat the map once and now it makes every location stronger. If you can't now beat the first location in the stronger map, then you have no way of getting money anymore. So we just, if we were to lock every location again, we need to make sure that you could still beat the new forest. And we could just make it so that numerically it's forced to work out. Like if you could beat the last location, then you're guaranteed to be able to beat the new location. And then just lock all the locations again. That could work. Is everything harder? Is there a way to return to the easy stuff? Everything's a little bit harder, and there is no way potentially to return to the easier stuff. Like you would, it could work one of two ways. Either it works like what you see here, where you're now on run number 2, you have just the forest, and you need to pay higher fees to unlock all the locations again. Or it could work such that you have all the old locations and just the forest is upgraded, and now you upgrade the canyon, and now you don't have the old canyon, you just have the new one. And then any items you would have gotten from the old locations are no longer desired by customers. So a customer who's like, hey, I want a small blue potion, as soon as you get to forest level 2, they just stop wanting that because there's no way of you getting that potion anymore. Well, there is, but yeah. Where's this thing about locking stuff? Well, wait, let's, I guess, continue reading this. Oh, I probably should write this down first. That may not be a bad thing if we guarantee that you can beat the new forest. Hmm. Need to make it clear which places have been upgraded. Yeah, I think it would be better if we just locked everything. Still gate progress on having enough money. Treasure chest system, blah, blah, blah. Loot, quest, town hall perks. Yeah. All right. So let me think about this idea now. So you beat this the first time, and then a cutscene plays when you beat the Inferno. Your little skeleton walks over to, I don't know, the portal or something, and the portal turns red. And now when you click this, everything is locked, and now it's like the inner forest or the forest sanctum or something, and then, you know, the frozen canyon and so on and so forth. Is there a story behind what makes things harder? Can it be spun in a way where the sent adventurers can choose what they face in each location? I think I had something here for this, but no, I never said why it happens. Did I ever say why it happens? No. Yeah, I did not have a reason for this. It just happens. Well, anyway, we could come up with a reason, I guess. But can it be spun in a way where the sent adventurers can choose what they face in each location? Choosing what they face in location, I don't think is something I'd want to do for the game. I just don't think it adds a lot. What's the problem with allowing players to go back to the easier location? There's just no need. So the problem is that if we let them go back to easier locations, then we would probably need to have double the size of the map. Or there'd need to be like a selector on each location of, is this easy mode or hard mode? But like I said, I don't think there's a need. So no one would ever go back to the original forest because it's like the potions you're getting are worth 3 gold as opposed to getting like, 50 gold per item in here. So it just simplifies things in my mind to just not let you go back. It probably does feel a little bit cheap though if we do this. And they feel cheap to players that we reuse locations. I'm not super concerned with this. 2 flags per location. There could be, yeah. I still don't ever see a need for players to go back to an old location. Like if you think about it, there are whatever 8 locations here. So the forest is both level 1 and level whatever 9. And then the canyon is both level 2 and level 10. If something's separated by 8 levels in kind of any game where the max level would be something like 20, would you ever go back to something that's like level 8 content? There are reasons, but just not in Skeleseller, really. Items really only sell for money, and that's about it. So, like, there's no, oh, I missed a piece of gear, I need to go get that gear. It's like, there's just no real reason to go back. You often want to send weaker adventurers to farm easier stuff rather than idle as workers. Yeah, but by the time you unlock this, you should have, like, 2 parties worth of characters, and they could just go fight here. Like, this will be your new weakest location. And you can always send them back to here to farm. So it'll like change the game a little bit. Is there an issue with giving players a choice? The issue is just that it's going to complicate the UI in some way. Either we have some way of like pick easy versus hard for a location, or we double the size of the map to show both kinds of locations. Or yeah. And if there's just pretty much no reason they'd ever pick the easy stuff again, then I don't see a reason to make either of these changes. Even the picking easy versus hard, it's like I could just see people doing the wrong thing. And here's one of the problems with this is they're going to pick the wrong one, and then they're never going to look at the battles anyway. They're just going to keep it in the corner of their window. This already happens now in the game, that they'll start a new fight and they'll be like, oh, am I going to win this? And before they even see the outcome, they just go get distracted by something else. Then 5 minutes later, they're like, I was never winning this battle. So if we allow them to go back to an easy location, they might be like, at some point 5 minutes later, they might be like, why am I getting small blue potions? And then realize, oh, this UI works differently from how I thought. Like, there are ways we could potentially simplify that. I just still don't see a reason why a player would ever want to do that. We should basically make it so that the game design doesn't incentivize them going back to old locations at some point. And if we just prevent it, then it's like, it doesn't matter if there's an incentive or not. What's the trigger to the second map? So I was thinking you beat the Inferno for the first time, and then a cutscene plays. Your character walks over. There's some explanation. I don't know what this is for the portal turning red. And now when you click this the second time, it's like, oh, all the locations are locked again. And you just fight in the forest. But now the forest is a higher level. You can easily see some fog covering sections of the locations. It goes away and you've unlocked a second map. Yeah, yeah. I'm not saying it's impossible. I just don't see a reason why people would want to go back. Like, imagine I've unlocked the whole map. I'm like fighting over here, I'm winning. I'm fighting over here, I'm winning. And I'm like, I want to go back to the volcano for some reason. In fact, by the way, this is kind of a mistake I think a lot of people make in the game now. They're like, I want my adventurers to always be doing something. So they send their characters back here. And then they start earning items that just are clogging their whole system. I just still don't see a need to allow them to go back to old locations. And I'm still not even sold on this idea I've come up with of like, let's lock the whole map again. I should probably take a picture of that. Yeah. So this is the locked map. Yeah. We could make it so that you upgrade each location. I mean, it is kind of the compromise between these two things. Like, you can fight in the easy jungle if you want to, but then once you've upgraded it, it's now the hard mode jungle, which means that the crypt would still be the easy mode crypt. So you can still go back to a location that's like roughly equivalent to what you would have fought in. Kind of feels bad not having any chance to farm the Inferno. Yeah, I think that would feel bad. There's no way to farm the Inferno. Although it would be a boss location in this new formulation. So I guess there wouldn't be, yeah, I guess this wouldn't be an issue. Actually, the Inferno will be a boss location. So the deepest location to farm would be the deep forest, which would still be farmable. So the problem really is to encourage players to do the thing that's more fun when they're progressing, not clogging up their machine. That's not really the problem. That's just a nice benefit of it. Okay, so like the real issue here is we need more content and we have no place to put it without reusing or adding locations. So like we need more bosses, more places to farm, and these places need to be stronger than the normal ones. So then the question is, how do we do this in a way that is the most elegant for the game that we have? And adding locations is possible. The downsides of adding places is it's more artwork and it's a larger battle map is required. And I think this is the bigger problem here, the larger battle map. Like, I don't want people to have to scroll. Like, you're just basically going to ignore the beginning of the battle map so that you can scroll all the way to the side. And if you ever do need to see, like, where are my adventurers fighting? Like, let's say we showed all your battle parties here. You might have one here, and you might be scrolled all the way to the side and be like, wait, where are my characters fighting? And then you have to scroll around. New idea, Shadow World. It's Link to the Past. You're going to land on a pyramid. Yeah, I guess we could change the graphics somewhat. But I think I don't know, I still want it to be like a colorful game and everything. Also, I think if we made it a Shadow World, then we'd have to make all the characters like shadowy characters. I like the idea of unlocking locations. I'm not sure if it's going to be clear how this works. I don't want there to be more locations. So let me think about this. First time through the game, you see the ogre here, you see the dragon here. I might as well go find the dragon and put them in. Where art thou, dragon? Here you art. So let's take you and paste you over here and scale you up. There. Yeah. I apparently can't scale it and have it not filter it like that. Really? How do we? Oh, whatever. I don't care. Whatever. It's just going to look blurry then. I don't know how you change the filter through this. There's a readjust button. I don't know what that does. Yeah, fine. It's just blurry. All right. So, yeah. Ogre shows here. Dragon shows here. You beat this the first time. I guess you unlock the canyon and then fight in if you want to. So we just don't have auto repeat on when you fight that character the first time. Still not sure. Or the upside down where you just flip the map. It's a breakdancing ogre. I feel like having Inferno become a boss only location feels like lost content. Means one less battle point just for a new one-off event. Well, it's if you think about it in terms of locations, like right now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 repeatable locations, but that's because we don't have a world 2. Once you have a world 2, you would end up adding another at least 3 locations, so you'd probably end up with like 8 to 10 total repeatable locations. So it's still more than you would have normally, and then you have 8 bosses. So, but I'm still just not sold on sort of the UX of all of this. I think that when you unlock a location with a boss, it just shows the boss on that location. Beating the boss lets you fight regular enemies at that location. And then repeating the map makes it so that you need to upgrade each location. Maybe it shows all of the bosses on the map. I don't know. Yeah, I'm just not certain about this. By the way, once I can figure this stuff out, like let's say we had the system coded, then we can just start adding in bosses, adding in locations, testing out the balance of this stuff, and story mode would basically be done. We just need a couple of cutscenes. But yeah, this system is in the way. I'm just waffling so much on this. The other issue, like, we've balanced the game with the exact number of bosses and locations that we have already. I don't want to disturb that balance. Do you have new battle arenas for the stronger areas? No, but I think those are pretty cheap to make because they're just tile maps. So like if we wanted to rearrange the forest and make a slightly different one, we could like move this pool of water or move some trees around, maybe use different trees or something. But I don't think we need new graphics for that necessarily. So I think that part should be okay. The canyon and crypt nodes. They'd have to be redrawn. Finally, what is it? Those nodes are only boss nodes in run number 1. Actually, that's not even true. Finally, some nodes are only boss nodes in a single run. If you did allow for going back to the old versions, making new arenas might make the distinction more obvious to the players. I just still don't ever see a need for people to go back to old places. Like, if the game lets you do it, then it shouldn't be that you have a choice, I guess. Hey, Aim. Have I not seen you in forever? have not seen you in forever. How have you been? How do you plan to preserve the existing balance while also adding the second map routing? Well, basically just condensing everything. Like we have location number 1 is the forest, and then location number 2 is the canyon, but it's a boss, and location number 3 is the volcano. So this is the current style. And the new style, if we had location number 2 is the canyon, and then it went to like location number 2.5, then we basically just throw in all the volcano enemies into the canyon, at least in terms of stats. So the balance would stay the same for we just condense everything. And then the problem is we need to make sure that the enemies are kind of fitting, and yeah, it'd just be a lot of reworking, but I don't think it'd be too bad. I'm doing pretty well, Aim. I'm trying to figure out how I want to do map progression in the game. Like I want you to go through this whole map and then go through it again. And the going through it again part is slightly confusing, and handling bosses is slightly confusing. Yeah, I'm just not sold on this stuff yet. Got plenty of levels to allow for adjustments to power scaling, so balance shouldn't be a problem. Levers, yeah. Yeah, I think so. But I also want to make sure, like, balance is also in terms of pace, I suppose. And the way that it works right now is in the volcano is when you unlock the armor shop and the farm and the tavern. And then you get to the waterways and you unlock the enchanter, the weapon shop, the fishing pond. And then I think beating the inferno, so basically when you get to like forest level 2 is when you'll get the treasure room and key grinder. And then that's it. There are no new buildings after that. So we got to think of, like, there could be more perks that you get for the existing buildings. But yeah, at some point, the number of choices you have is going to start drying up. And that's when we need to start wrapping up the game. So yeah. Let me take a look at this again. What did I say here? Canyon, jungle, crypt. There's no way to lay these out such that I can put 5 bosses all separated by 1, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'd have to put a boss in the forest if I did that. But then that wouldn't be separated by 1 from the last run. So yeah, there's no way to do this with the number of locations we have. I mean, we could add a location. It could be that you go from the deep forest into the mountains and then over to the inferno. Or I guess from the inferno to the mountains and then back to the forest. So you're going from fire to ice. Yeah, I guess my main question that I have right now is I'm still not sure whether the location that a boss is blocking should be a repeatable battle. And if so, should it be repeatable in both loops of the game map? And be careful about disallowing players from going to locations. Feels like taking away some player agency, and there's not really a reason for them to do it. Yeah, I just don't see it as a problem at all. Yeah. In my mind, I think just the level of like casual play that Skeleseller is trying to bring to players is like I've just seen the kinds of sort of mistakes that people make right now, and I think letting them go back to old places, if it turns out to be what's best for the UX, would still be disincentivized. But if the best UX is letting them repeat stuff, then I'm fine having it. And then if there are any problems that arise from that, then we could figure them out. But I'm still just not sure what we're going to do about this stupid thing. So, okay, what if we always made them repeatable? Then we end up with, I really should just count how many locations are here and remember it. 3, 6, 8, yeah. So then we end up with 16 repeatable locations. Currently, we have 6. It just feels like too much for the amount of systems we have in the game. Yeah, I think that's the issue. Those 6 locations take 2 hours right now. I wanted the final game to add another maybe like 2 to 3 hours. So at best, we might have like 12 locations. But the pacing of upgrades and unlocks will drastically slow after you beat those 6. Which is why we can't just... I don't think it'd still be fun if we had another like 10 locations. There's maybe another way we could do this. Maybe we could do this in a different way altogether. Maybe after beating the Inferno, 5 new bosses cover the map. You have to beat them maybe in order. Once you've beaten them, you can go to the locations they were blocking and they'll be upgraded. In fact, well, all right, here's what I'm picturing. So you go through the first time, it works basically the way that works now. Then when you beat the Inferno, it plops 5 more bosses onto here. And all right, let me mock this up. Do we have the battle map? Oh, here we go. And can we hide? Oh, whatever. I'll just take a picture of this. Okay, so here's our picture. I'm not going to hide those rectangles. It doesn't matter. Although I do want... There. Okay, then I want to paste in all the new bosses that we have. I'm going to do this a little bit hastily. And again, I'm just going to make them fuzzy. So whatever, I'll scale them up and they'll get fuzzy in the process. So whoops. So you go, I don't know, there. We can just move these around later. And you... how do you... Oh, Alt. Okay, there we go. You go there. Why is a map reset? Give me FF1 vibes of the time loop and farming the same 4 fiends again. Well, a lot of this is sort of... It was originally inspired by Final Fantasy 1. Although this is me subconsciously pulling from that game if I am. I'm not intentionally doing it. All right, what else do we have? The Yeti. Good. And we put them maybe over there. And then we have one more boss. No, wait, we have 2 more bosses. The Enchantress, which I never even loaded up. But let's just load up the... Let's load up this. That's fine. It's good enough. And you can go there. And then the final one is the snake, which is right there. And then it has to be in the final location. And you go, whoops, you go over there. Okay, so I wanna come back to this after the ad break. So where I left off, still thinking about this. But I am going to take my break right now because I'm trying to time it with ads now. So is it jump time? It's jump time. Close the game. Okay. So, why is that not working? Close the game. Close it. There. All right, so after beating the Inferno, 5 new bosses cover the map. You have to beat them in order. Once you've beaten them, you can go to the locations they were blocking and they'll be upgraded. So that's this picture that we kind of had. But if there's no boss blocking the original location, it means you could still go to the forest. What is it? What if you already had characters, already had battles started in those old locations? Maybe we just close all of your ongoing battles. So if this is the layout we're gonna have for bosses. Wait, no, that's not how this is gonna work. Yeah, I messed this up. The Phoenix would have been done the first time around, so that doesn't exist. Okay, that's more like it. So if this is the layout we have for bosses, you'd be able to fight in the original forest again, which is pointless for you. The original volcano would be pointless for you. So you'd beat the Yeti and then that would unlock the canyon for you to fight in. But it wouldn't have worked that way the first time around. Yeah, this just feels weird. Yeah, this feels weird. I don't like it. Okay, let's just keep going with crazy ideas here. What if we brought back the Explorer's Hut and they let you upgrade locations? I feel like the upgrading should just be on the battle map rather than via an NPC in the world map. But I guess then you'd know what. No, it doesn't really make a difference, does it? Yeah, you'd still have to know that you're upgrading something, and you wouldn't know why you're upgrading something. Man. Yeah, I'm a little bit stuck. And yeah, I keep coming back to this thing. If a boss just blocked a location and then you could fight in that location, we just have too many locations. But in that case, then why don't we just cut down the number of locations we have? All right, so suppose we want 12 total locations and bosses just temporarily blocked and otherwise repeatable battle. Then I guess we would just ditch 2 location nodes. Yeah. And probably whatever ones are most similar. So like the forest and the jungle, for example, or the forest and the deep forest. Yeah, so we ditch the deep forest and we ditch what else is not that unique. Yeah, jungle or waterways. Ditch deep forest and jungle or waterways. So now your first run, the forest, canyon, volcano. Let's say we ditch the jungle. Yeah, that way I don't have to wonder what we've gotten rid of. Then crypt, waterways, and inferno. So there are 6 locations, and same thing in the second run. And here you fight the ogre, the dragon, the phoenix. And then we have 5 other bosses. But now they don't fit as easily, I guess. So this would be Yeti. I don't know. Let's write in the ones that are the same. Snake. So now we need plant and slime. I guess this is plant and this is slime. We could always color the slime red if we needed to. Just do one of these. And just shoop. You're now red. Ish. Anyway, we do this like properly, but yeah, we could make them look like they're a volcano slime if we need to. So what does this do for us? It means that we don't end up with like way too many locations. You need to upgrade a location in order to... I don't know. The whole upgrading things doesn't make a lot of sense. We'd also need to change how the road works through this because we'd be getting rid of... What did I say? The deep forest and the jungle. So this would be gone. And this would be gone. I mean, I guess we could just spread out the remaining locations and just redraw the roads a little bit. So instead of the forest being here and then the canyon so close, like the canyon gets moved up a little bit, the volcano gets moved over a little bit, then the crypt, and yeah. But is this better for the game? I just don't like this idea of looping. Could have an item that acts like a lure that attracts stronger monsters. Then that can act as your location upgrade concept. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about even needing to upgrade things at all. Still don't know how I feel about needing to upgrade stuff. This is kind of why I wanted to lock the map altogether. I think as long as a player knows that they can do it, but they need to do it in order. I think that's what's weird about this. So each location would be selectable, but then would also have like an upgrade button. And I don't like that. Or we just don't even do it on the map at all. And we go back to, we have an explorer hut in the game that's no longer being used. Where's that? Here, yeah. So we have the explorer hut. We could even potentially put this on the battle map and not in the world map. Well, I think that might look weird. But yeah, we put this like over here. No, that looks kind of stupid. Yeah, all right, I don't know. Then yeah, we just delete this. I guess I'll just hide it for now. But yeah, we can put the explorer map in your town. We had them way over here in the past. But yeah, we can put them somewhere more obvious, maybe like over here. There's an explorer's hut. And you click that, and it's like, hey, I can upgrade the next location on your battle map. And you say yes, and it's like, cool, now your forest has been upgraded. Hey, Payne. Thank you for the raid. Sorry, I'm pulling up your stream now as we talk. I see you are... Oh, you just ended your stream. Game dev, chill deving. Indie game developer, Calamity, Oath, and Despair. Have I looked this up already? God, I feel bad because I do not remember. I don't see a Steam page for it. But anyway, from what I see in your Twitch stream, it looks pretty cool. Feel free to share any links if you want to. And hey, Fullbox, I appreciate. I wanted to tell you this yesterday, but I think you'd already left the stream, or maybe it was 2 days ago. But you mentioned that I was over engineering the community contributions. I think it's true. I ended up setting up a weblate.skeleseller.com so that we can just do community contributions through here. So yeah. Hey, LightGB, how you doing? We're releasing a new devlog today. Okay, yeah, I'll take a look at that. I'll write this down. Weekend. What's Weblate? Weblate is a community translation. Well, I guess it's technically not community translation necessarily, but it's an interface for translating things. So for example, we can go into Spanish here and click untranslated strings, and we see things like boulder. So I don't know what the Spanish word for boulder is, but you type it in here and then hit save and continue. Oh, I need to be signed in, of course. But yeah, you hit save and continue, and then this would just show up as a translated thing. So for example, if we go to basic attack, we can see that it's already been translated, and it shows that Kevin is the one who translated this. And when we're happy with whatever we've got here, I can just have it commit directly to Git and then pull it into my game and use the translations. So I think this is going to be really good, and I just need to get translators. Does it spit out a CSV? It could spit out a CSV. We happen to be using .pot and .po files, so portable object templates and portable objects. So what they look like for us is like so. So there's an ID and there's a string. So it's pretty similar to if you had a CSV. This also tells us where we're using it in the code, which is kind of nice. And we could add in context if we need to. Hey, Jordan, I'm doing well. Kind of like GitHub for linguistics. Sort of. Yeah. But anyway, for those new here, I've been working on a game called Skeleseller for the last 1.5 years. And it's a very laid back, casual game. You send adventurers into battle. They fight automatically. They earn items. You sell the items in your town. So I'll kind of just let this run in the background for a little bit. What we're working on now is trying to figure out, as we get closer to launch, we need to add more content to the game. And right now, there are only this many locations in the game. And I want roughly double this number without having to make new artwork or expand this battle map a lot. So what we're going to end up doing is probably reusing the locations, and I just need to figure out the best way to do that. And yeah, take care, Fabian. Thank you for the raid. I hope you have a good break. And I will definitely check out the video you sent probably this weekend. So yeah, it's just to wrap up my little spiel here. This is playable now if you want to try it out. There's a demo. The demo is free. And the demo, actually, I just checked. The median playtime is now exactly 2 hours. And that's over like 8,500 people. So it probably means that if you were to play and you enjoy it, you'll probably play for about 2 hours. So I'm going to probably cut that down. Like the demo has a lot of content in it, and I'm probably going to trim it to like an hour at best. So it doesn't feel like there's no reason to buy the game afterward. But the game's not for sale yet. That's what we're working toward. Launch next year, hopefully. Hey, Phil. Yeah, I'm just stuck. I'm just so stuck about this. Still don't know how I feel about needing to upgrade stuff. It's kind of why I wanted to lock the map altogether. Still, it could be something. Yeah, no, there should be a hint in the battle map itself. Even if you can upgrade via the Explorer, there should still be a battle map equivalent for it. How long do you expect the full game to be? So there are 2 modes. There's story mode and there's bone mode. Story mode right now is 2 hours. And what I want it to get to is probably like 4 to 5 hours. And then bone mode should be about another like 5 to 10 hours. It's been bone plus. So yeah, I think the total time for probably the average person would be maybe about 10 hours. And I think that's pretty reasonable. I want to charge $15. Yeah. Just started learning game dev, learning C# and Unity. When I'm not studying, I watch other game developers. Yeah, I think that's really good. And I think it's good to have a combination of trying something for yourself and then augmenting it with either tutorials or research or watching other people. Watching other people is a good way to find out things you never would have known to even search for. Because I see all sorts of tools or workflows and not even have known that they were possible. I still don't know what to do for this. Hey, Vinny. There's no microtransactions, so I'm a little hesitant. I can charge you microtransactions if you want. I can charge you nanotransactions if you want. They're revolutionizing the gaming industry. Good way to make friends. No, I appreciate a pool box. I really do. This is part of the reason I stream. Some of it is for just accountability, but then other is for just covering my blind spots. And in these sorts of cases, it's like, yeah, what I would have done would have been not only a subpar solution, but it would have taken longer. Like I set up Weblate pretty much just yesterday, and it did take a pretty decent amount of time, but like now it's online. And now other people, I can add them with their accounts. I can eventually add other languages. The bigger problem that I have is actually not related to this. It's related to, I don't even have all the strings in here. We have a total of 2,000 words, and we need a total of like probably 5,000. So I'm missing 60% of the code base. Yeah, there's one macro transaction. It takes place on Steam. For $1,000, you too can play this game. So yeah, my issue is if we're going to repeat this battle map, that there's got to be some way of you knowing that you've upgraded the location. I guess alternatively, I mean, Monadic Bind had suggested this. Suggested that we could have a difficulty selector for a location so that you're only unlocking new stuff instead of wiping out the old. So I guess we could have some concept of like, could be a way of unlocking. We could require that you beat the hard mode of a location before you can move on. Oh, thanks, Jordan. Yeah. I hope you have fun too. By the way, don't hesitate about sharing feedback. I'm very open to feedback. The demo is, I'd say, pretty solid right now, in that almost all the feedback that I've gotten has been things that have either been like, I don't know, like minor issues that I don't think are worth even tackling, or things already on my radar, little ways we can make the game better, or suggestions that don't fit the game necessarily. And I wonder if these will drop a bit once the game is launched. Because when a game is in demo and all that exists is a demo, people kind of fill in the blanks themselves. So like the game has no concept of equipment. I don't want equipment. I've never wanted equipment to be in the game. But in the initial versions, a lot of people are like, man, it'd be cool if there was equipment. And I wonder if when the game releases, if people will still say, oh, there's no equipment, this game is bad, or just like, oh, well, they just made the decision to not have equipment and they chose to launch that way. Not done with writing the story for my game, so I can't start translation yet. Don't want people to work on stuff that might change. Yeah, for us in this case, it's more so that I just haven't extracted all of the strings. I started calling these translate functions, and we've gotten 289 calls. But then there's still a bunch of strings that are not converted. So they don't even make it to these template files that I showed through Weblate. So anyway, I gotta do that. But I'm gonna do that off stream at some point. Is launch delayed? Last I checked. Yeah, it was delayed a little bit. I think that if I were to like really scramble, we could maybe get done with stuff by the end of December, but there's just too much of it. So this is the stuff we need to do by launch. And yeah. I have about 4 months until it's no longer really Q1 of 2026. And yeah, once we get done with the content of this, I'm actually reasonably, I guess, like finish bone mode, add difficulties and some content. Hey again, Boolean. All right, well, I'd love to get to a conclusion with this. I think I'll eventually come up with something. Just still not sure what. Maybe there are like two different maps. Maybe we have like original battle map and new battle map. Maybe there's just a whole new battle map tab. It shows like you can always go back to. I don't like that idea. No. This just feels unwieldy. I don't know what to do. Yeah, I don't know what to do. What if we expanded? Okay, as long as I'm coming up with practically every idea. So what if we expanded the battle map by like 3 locations and added the old bosses? Or not added the old bosses, added the new bosses somehow. I don't know how you would add them. Yeah, I don't know how you would add them. It could just be that every other level is a boss and it's not really this way. We have 8 bosses and we have 8 locations. So we need maybe every location has a boss. Actually, I hadn't thought of that. That could potentially work, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ogre, Phoenix, and Dragon. Okay. Maybe there is no repeating then. What if that? I don't think that would work, by the way. What if we just had 1 boss per location? I think it would make farming really difficult. We'd probably need to add at least 1 new node on the map. Maybe the mountain or the mines. But then that could potentially work. In addition to this game you're making, do you also work as a game dev? No, this is just my main gig that I'm doing. Yeah. So I stream for, I don't even know how much I'm streaming for now per week. Like, what did I do this week? Let's see. So the combination of these was 6 hours and 10 minutes, then 8:40, 12:40, 15 hours, 10 minutes, 18 hours. Yeah, I probably stream for about 20 to 25 hours per week. And I do some work off stream as well. Every X fights in a location you face a boss. That I want to stop. You can auto repeat battles. So at some point you'll unlock the boss and you might not even realize it. So I'd rather it's just some deterministic thing that you can tell ahead of time. I thought about that bug. It feels like it's going to run into some awkward scenarios with the transition. Not having a boss at the end of the first loop is weird. Thought about that bug. What bug? Because I think this idea is actually not terribly bad, but maybe it's not the best. So like we would have the forest. This would have no boss. So you just repeat it. Although I actually could have a boss, right? Technically, I don't know. I guess is there a boss for a new location or a boss for the current location? Oh, I thought about that, but it feels like it's going to run into some awkward scenarios. Oh, there wouldn't be a loop in this case. And no looping. Yeah, sorry, I didn't make that clear. So like the forest, I guess the ogre becomes the boss for the forest. Since that's kind of how it works already. Then you fight the canyon. And we somehow put a boss there. What am I missing? I don't know. I should just list out all the bosses. Here they are. Ogre boss. Canyon gets the, I don't know what, a slime or something. Then the volcano could have the phoenix. Then the jungle can have the plant boss. And the crypt probably would have the enchantress. Doesn't really make sense that there's a dragon there right now. Then the waterways would get... We don't really have anything for the waterways, I guess. What are we missing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, the final one's going to be the snake. And we need the yeti and we need the dragon. So we probably add in like a mountain place. And then we just need something for the dragon to be in. I mean, I guess it could be in here. So how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So technically I just repurposed the deep forest into this. Yeah. Every X battles it becomes available and you choose whether you want to fight it or not. Yeah, I see what you mean. I don't think I like it. I'm not even sure. I think repeating boss battles is something that should be done through some other means, and I'm not sure what. Yeah. And hey, Suyash. I'm doing pretty well. It's been a very dynamic week in terms of learning about what we do for localization, then doing some of that stuff for localization, covered kind of a lot of ground there, and now moving back to game design and hopefully some game dev today. How are the things going on and what are you working on? Yeah, things are going pretty well. I was working on localization for most of this week, and now what we're working on is trying to figure out how we're going to get the rest of the content in the game. And the main problem is that we only have 8 locations that you can fight in, and we have 8 bosses. So do we need more locations? Do we need to allow you to repeat locations? I kind of like the idea of just like we have some blank space. If you consider how much blank space there is, it's like all of this and this. How do you add to your selection? I don't know what I'm doing. I thought shift did it, but it apparently doesn't. Or maybe I need to hold shift first. Oh yeah, you hold shift first. Okay, so yeah. So we have all of this space and this space. Not really much outside of there. I mean, you could say there's a little bit over here, but and at that point, then you're at the border of the map. So you could fit 2 more locations in here. Like maybe even 3. And you could rearrange some things too. And then that would probably give you a good mix of places where you just farm and there's no boss. So deep forest, we could say no boss, and mines, we could say no boss. So you just have to unlock those locations. Although if we're going to do this, maybe we move the slime. Maybe we say no boss for here and do it over here. Because I'd rather they're more dense toward the end. And we'd probably move one of these no boss locations up or something. I'm not totally sure. But yeah, this could potentially work. So we add in this and this. So we'd add 2 locations. We change the roads around a bit. And then it all fits on one map. There's no concept of repeating. It's the simplest possible thing to code because we already have the system. So the question is, would this work for the game? Would this work? I guess the pros would be no need to code something new, or at least not much. Well, I guess the only coding, this reduces the amount of new coding. We would just need to show bosses on the map and then unlock the location that they're blocking. The bosses themselves would just be a location. Cons, I'm not sure if the balance of this would work. Right now, you get through 2 bosses and 6 locations in about 2 hours. We want the new content to add another like 2 to 3 hours. But we only have 2 new locations. So we would need to slow down how you're progressing through these. Hey, Sarah. It doesn't expand the map. It doesn't expand the boundaries of the map. Just adds location to them. Yeah, the balance is... The balance is the question here. God, I'm so torn. It almost makes me wonder if we should just expand the map a little bit. Like we add maybe 5 locations, and sure 2 or 3 can fit in this space that we're not using, but then we just expand it a tiny bit off to the side. Yeah, I don't think that would be too bad. I think we would need slightly more locations than this. We could expand the map horizontally just a bit and add maybe like 4 locations in total. Hey, Saro. So the thing is, we have our current situation is working well. What we have is this. I guess it's like ogre, not repeatable. Dragon, not repeatable. These don't exist. This is what we have. If I were to just keep this and tack on new things, we need to add 6 more locations if we wanted all of the bosses to be there. But I guess we could put the Phoenix into here, then add all the new bosses to the... We'd have to add 5 new locations. I mean, there is another thing that I hadn't really considered. We could just not add all of the bosses. Like the Enchantress could just not be a boss. Yeah. Could just not add all of the bosses. All you get toward the end of the game is the treasure room. All right, let's just start a new game. Just act like we're actually playing the game. So we can hire another adventurer immediately. In fact, if I just save and load. There, now I don't have signs I shouldn't have. So yeah, all we could do, we could build the town hall, we could get auto battle. All right, so we've been fighting here for a bit, and then we finally unlock the ogre. So we go fight the ogre. It starts a boss battle. This one you're guaranteed to win. All right. So now you could go on to the next place, but you actually can't beat the next place yet. So you send your characters back to the forest, which is always a little bit weird. And then you use the money to get the armor shop and the farm. You need to wait for them to buy that. Good. So we get the farm. We turn this on. We get the tavern. We start a quest. We start dumping some things into all of these places. So now you'd be working your way toward getting, might as well turn on the sound while I'm doing this. You'd be working your way toward getting another worker, level ups for your adventurers. And then, yeah, you're still sort of exploring the game at this point. So when I do eventually go to the volcano, which I guess would be the canyon at this point, we'd throw in 3 bats into a canyon or something like that. When I do eventually go there, I'd be able to beat this location, and then the next one would have a boss. As opposed to not having a boss and just allowing you to unlock the next location directly. I don't think it would be a problem to condense that. Although one of the things that's true is if you complete this quest, the next quest requires something from the volcano and something from the jungle. We could still do that. That's what encourages you to go to the next location. So this yellow potion would have to drop in the canyon. And then you'd complete all of that part of it, but you wouldn't have the boots yet, which would let you know that you have to beat the next boss. I guess that could still work fine. Yeah, I could see this working. Should the bosses show up after beating the regular location? The first boss has no challenge because you can't level up. So you have to be able to win all the time, 100%. But the second boss you could level up for, because we have the farm already. So we can start harvesting this and then level up our adventurers. So at this point in the game, technically, not that you ever should, but you could make it to max level on both of your adventurers. And then trivialize the rest of the game. So technically nothing can stop you other than just time. But again, that'd be nuts. So do we condense things too much if we do this though? Like, would you even... I think the fun of bosses is trying to figure out the strategy you'd use to beat them. And if you only have 2 characters, then it's not really fun to try to beat them. That they require different strategies, which means you would need more adventurers on your team to allow the expression of those strategies. Thus, I don't think we can have a boss for every location, especially early on. Hey, 3D Extended, any plans? Yeah, tomorrow we're going to a friend's place to play some complex board game. I don't know what it's called. I don't know if it's going to be fun. But other than that, I think that's all we have planned for now. Are you doing anything fun? Are you still working on house stuff? It's not Wingspan, I know that. But I don't remember the name of it. Achievement for beating the game with less than 50 user inputs. The ultimate island. I think it'd be interesting to have an achievement that said something like get to level 10 without ever beating a boss or something like that. Worm span. Your Sternblade. Still renovating? Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're gonna get really good at renovating and then have no need to do it anymore. All right, so this proposed idea, where is the proposed idea? Here it was. So yeah, Canyon has no boss, then Volcano has the Phoenix. So we'd be bumping this up one sooner. Normally, wait, no, that's not even true, is it? Normally you go to the Volcano. This would have been the Volcano. So I guess it's a question of, so this is at the end of the location. So it's the one to get into the next location. So this is kind of the same ordering we have now. Maybe this would work. Takes way longer than I thought, but it's kind of fun. It's different for sure. I feel like this is kind of always the case. If you're working with computers, you need like, what's the opposite of that? And I think the total opposite of it is like yoga in nature. I think that's the opposite of being on a computer. But yeah, any sort of like hiking, any sort of, I don't know, woodworking, renovation kinds of things. Anything that doesn't have a screen probably involves use of your hands, probably gets you out of the house, potentially. You know. Renovation can get you really out of the house because it requires you to be in the house. Although there's a whole bunch of going to home improvement stores. Like building stuff with my hands. Yeah. I started learning how to knit, but I didn't get very far. So I might do a little bit more of that. Or just be into the house. Could be renovating the outside, I guess. So yeah, I think this could potentially work. And at some point we could have you dip over to the mountain or just move where one of these bosses would be. So what would it take to test this? I guess just laying all this stuff out, rearranging everything. I mean, we are talking like multiple days of work here. And then seeing if the balance makes sense. Okay, so let's close out of the game. Or let's at least mute it. I think we're getting closer to what I want. I think this is taking me a very long time. But yeah, what I'm leaning toward is no looping. I think it's just too much of a UX mess. Adding a few locations and expanding the battle map slightly if necessary. And then making boss density much higher than it currently is. The sparseness would show up, would be front loaded. Since you don't have many adventurers at first. Yeah. Okay. So something like this. But I don't like another no boss thing being at the beginning. I think ideally it's in between these two. There's a no boss location, but what would it be? I mean, we could just say it's the mines. Doesn't really matter. Worst of it is probably cleaning up the item drops in the regions to fit the new flow. Yeah, that's going to be a mess. It's going to be a giant mess. So is moving enemies around and all that stuff. But whatever, that can work. We know that's possible. The balance of this needs to feel good, though. So Ogre, no boss. Phoenix, no boss. Then the plant boss, Enchantress. The dragon being in the waterways doesn't really make sense. They could be in the forest. We could put the slime here. Put this over here. Yeah, that could work. And maybe the deep forest has some like torches around it or something. I don't know what. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 locations. Oh, and then what does this do for bone mode? I didn't even think about that. I guess bosses could just show up at some point. But yeah, this is what I'm leaning toward. And the mines would be, you go from the volcano to the mines. So I was thinking it could bring you to right there and then out to the jungle and then blah, 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 and then into the mountain and then into the inferno. Something like that. So we rearrange this a little bit. Yeah. Make a deep forest into a cave or tunnel that exits into the mountains. Yeah, we could do that. I'm thinking, yeah, wait, yeah, we need something like that. So what artwork changes / additions do we need? So the new locations and new road structure. Yeah. All right, so there are still some questions I had here. Where was it? Should the bosses show up after beating the location? So is the boss the requirement to enter a location or the requirement to unlock the next location? Basically, is the boss at the end of a location or is it at the start of the new one? And they might sound like they're the same, but it's probably slightly different UX. So like here, suppose we needed to beat, you'd be able to go to the volcano already, right? And then there'd be like a Phoenix boss showing here, I guess, indicating that in order to move on, you need to, that's kind of weird. I think there should be a boss for the new location. Oh wait, what does that mean for the final boss? The final boss has to be at the end of all the content. Which would mean it's not what you get to unlock the Inferno. Although I do want players to be able to keep playing after they've beaten the game. I'm leaning toward the boss is required to unlock a location, but I'm not certain I like that. Beat it, and then they show up afterward. Yeah, I can't decide. Yeah, I don't know. The other thing I was thinking is that we have a start battle button right now. We could make a start elite battle or something. Like the boss shows up here, you click the location, and you could either start the regular fight or you could start the one against the elite. And then once you've beaten the elite, that button just goes away. In fact, actually, that's kind of interesting. I sort of like that. How do you enter the boss battle? There could be two different buttons. Start battle and fight elite. Fight elite wouldn't show if you beat the elite already. But then when you beat the whole game, it can show again to let you have an added challenge. Hey, Erlens. Okay, I do like that idea. So then for the new location, wait, what if it's just that you need to fight the elite to enter the new location? Then fight elite would be the only button you'd have at first. All right, I guess what I'm coming to the conclusion of is it doesn't really probably matter a whole lot. So let's look at this again and just kind of think of what this is. Let's see. Forest. Where's the place I wrote this last? Here, I guess. So Forest has the ogre as a boss, but it could be that you unlock the canyon, and then you click start or fight elite. And then it allows you to just start a battle. Or battle elite. No, fight elite. I don't know. Either one's fine. Now let's just plot this out. So you beat the forest, the unlock button shows you unlock the canyon, you click it and can only choose fight elite. After beating the ogre, you can now do regular battles in the canyon. You need to do this to be able to unlock the next location, the volcano. So then you unlock the volcano. There is no boss. This works just like the forest. You unlock the jungle. There is a boss, and you have to fight them before being able to do regular battles. Hey, Sarah. How goes it? What is that emote? Hand pink waving. How do you type that? Oh, I see. I'm not familiar with YouTube emotes. Man, these are crazy. You can't expand this either, huh? All right, well, there's some sunglasses. So this means that the ogre fight is unchanged in terms of when it happens. And then you have 3 locations: forest, canyon, volcano, before the second fight, which is currently how it works, right? 1, 2, 3, yeah, because the bosses don't count, which is also just like how it works now. Okay. I'm like super convinced this is the way to go. Yeah. And the question is just how many locations do we add? And I think it's just 2. I don't think 2 should be too much of an art burden. Didn't find the normal system remotes. What? System remotes? For watching on a TV? I don't know if we're talking about the same things. This is the way. I think this is the way. And I think this solves a whole lot of small problems. Emotes. Oh, okay. It's like, what are we talking about here? Yeah. Yeah, the regular emotes are apparently below that menu. Although you could also just use whatever OS way you'd have of doing it. I'm picturing now, there's, what is that? What is that thing? Is it Roku that has 4 special buttons on it or something, and they're different for every remote? Yeah. So I'm picturing a remote control that just has emotes on it, and it's actually an emote control, and you press it and it types it on your computer. All right, so yeah, it's time to pat myself on the back. Let's think of what this does. What does this solve for me? So the UX is much simpler. Players will know when there's a boss battle. It'll be required to fight at the new location. The snake boss will be fought before you get the final location unlocked for regular battles. So there's still a way to have tough content. I know why it's like this, but I still got to call it out. How are you going to have a dragon boss not housed in the caves? You know, dragon lore is really such that dragons can exist anywhere now. Like at the top of a mountain, inside of a cave, in a volcano. Then there's like ice dragons and stuff. Now, with that said, the dragon we have is a black dragon. So I don't think you'd find this on the top of a mountain, probably, maybe. But, you know, it's an RPG. You can make things up. My brain is still tired from planning and outlining lots of work packages for our new ML project at work today, it seems. Was it good work, though? Did it go well? Because your Friday is now done. You're on the weekend. Must be nice. So UX is simpler. Players will know when there's a boss battle. And then also, there's no concept of looping, so it won't confuse players. When it comes to repeating old content, upgrading locations, etc. What's another thing? We don't technically need a mid-game cutscene now, which I think is kind of nice. I also don't need to come up with an explanation for how the portal changes. Anything else this does for us that's nice? Yeah, the battle map may increase in size by a bit, but in general, tougher locations will be toward the right side, so you shouldn't have to scroll a lot. Like at some point in the game, I expect that you won't ever go back to these locations, and they're all on the left. Oh, except for you might go back to the fishing pond. Well, you could access the fishing pond through the town map if you just click this, but it scrolls. Yeah, well, whatever. Yeah. If we wanted to do something about that, we could maybe put the fishing pond over here. Like the whole town goes kind of a little bit farther to the right. Just so that you wouldn't have to keep panning the map around. But I'm going to say that that's not a huge problem. But maybe I should write it down. Actually, could we arrange the whole... No, we can't really arrange things differently. Yeah, the only way to get you to not have to scroll as far is to put this closer to the right side. But there's a mountain right there. And I want the mountain to be there. That's fine. So we can move this a touch to the right. I'll write it down in artwork changes. It may be nice to move the town node ever so slightly to the right if we expand the battle map. That way you don't have to scroll as far to pick the pond as a destination. Although maybe this isn't a problem because we end up adding perks in the game. I'm gonna put this as like a possibly don't even add this to art request, since perks could affect this. Yeah, like fishing starts out and you're doing it manually, and then you slowly level up auto fishing or something. Kind of want a shortcut for the fishing battle straight from the pond itself in town. I mean, that already exists. You can just click this and then, or maybe what you're talking about is, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Yeah, is that not what you want? Then you just click this and it starts at the fishing pond. All right, is there anything else that this does for us? And does this create any problems for us? I love that there's only one thing to learn. I like the idea of boss battles. Oh yeah, when does the boss show up? I never actually answered that. I guess it's when you unlock the new location. Yeah. And the boss will show as soon as you unlock the new location. Oh yeah, and then also, if we ever allow repeating fights, having a fight elite button is pretty nice for that. That works? Yeah, that works. Forgot it. That actually selects it, yeah. Well, the problem is if you're zoomed in, like let's say you had been fighting over, let's do this. Let's say you were fighting over here. So now when you click this, it's going to scroll all the way over. And if you wanted to get back to where you were, you'd have to pan the map all the way back over there. Now, granted, you're probably not zoomed in this much ever, but you could be. I mean, either way, it's going to pan the map back there, even if it's not zoomed in. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take another break. And then I think where I left off, still want to answer questions and figure out what we'll need to code. I don't think we're actually going to start the coding until the afternoon. But this has been This has been super helpful and is putting my mind at ease. So I know it took, what, well, I guess just 2 hours. 2 hours to get to this point, but it was worth it in my mind. So let's go kick off that break. Is it jump time? It's jump time. Hello again. Hey, Caleb. The snipe. I close the game. All right, so still want to answer questions. Do we need more locations? I think the answer is yes. We've already answered that. Second time through the map, are you unlocking locations at all? So we didn't end up doing this. Oh yeah, that's another thing. It feels less cheap. Feels less cheap of us to only have unique locations and not reuse them. What did you come up with? Okay, so what we came up with is we will expand the map very slightly and we'll add some new locations to some of the unused space and then put a boss on basically every location. So the final map will look something like this. We have the original locations, then we add in the mines, then the original locations, then we add in the mountain, and then we have the final location. And in order to fight at a location, you need to beat the boss for that location first. I wrote this out a little bit weirdly, but yeah, that's the general idea. So if we end up moving the map at all, or expanding the map, we need to expand it by like, 200 pixels maybe. So not a ton. And now there's no looping whatsoever. So when you beat the final location, you've beaten the game. And actually, that might be a benefit. I don't know if that's a benefit or not. If we had done looping, players may have wondered how many loops they'd have to go through. Now they'll know exactly when they'll beat the game. Or, well, they won't know that that's when they beat the game, but they'll know how many locations there are. It is going to slow down progress a little bit. So, yeah, what does this do for bone mode? I'm still not sure what bosses even did for bone mode. But this makes it so that you can fight at any location. And presumably fight the bosses there if you want, since there will be 2 buttons for each location. Do you have a big end boss? The end boss is the snake. And the reason why it's a snake is because a snake is what killed you at the beginning of the game. So now you fight the big boss snake, and you get an antidote from that snake. Now, why does a snake have an antidote? I don't know. These are the kinds of questions we don't have to answer. It does have an antidote, and then that triggers the end cutscene of the game. I finished my probably one-to-one implementation of Cloud Code's permission system today in order to get our CC integration to behave like the built-in TUI permissions wise. What is TUI? But good job. Oh, just terminal user interface. Okay. Yeah. I will say this. Permission systems are very important to test. Snake has the antidote because he's allergic to his own venom. Oh my god, I love that. I'm just gonna write this down. I don't think we ever need to explain this in the game, but I'm taking this if I ever do explain this. All right, I think this is fine. So what artwork and oh wait, I didn't read what Manakpine said. I'm like always in the mindset of can't fix problems using more art. Yeah. I think if you're not doing art yourself, it definitely feels like it's not a route you should take if you can avoid it. But in this particular case, I think it's not too much artwork we're gonna need to change, and I think it will help quite a lot. All right, so we got to make a to-do list out of this. To do is going to be modify art requests with this stuff. Yeah, I don't think I need to write anything else for that. Is there anything else? Where did that question go? What artwork changes and additions do we need? I think it's just this. Yeah, I think it's just that. What does it do for bone mode? Do you have to upgrade the portal to see the boss? Can you just try tackling them? So we've answered that. Do you have to upgrade the portal after beating the boss? Have enough game content to justify going through the map? Yeah, how is the pacing of this? Definitely need to like test for pacing. I can only do so much of this myself. I'll need new players to go through the game and see what's wrong. I also need to test it, but I won't be able to test the pacing as well as new players will be. How do we even show what you earned by beating the boss? So that we can't do anymore. Well, we could show boss rewards, although all it's going to tell you is that you got like ogre blood or a blade. You won't be able to see the description. Yeah. So change instance or change location tooltips so that they stop showing boss rewards. Maybe move it to the fight elite button that we have to add. To a tool, move it to a tooltip on the fight elite button. So add a fight elite button. It's basically the same as start battle unless you've unlocked the ability to repeat elites. Then it starts the boss battle instead of the regular battle. allow locations to have 2 different battles that they can start. There's a boss instance, well, like probably manifest a boss instance ID and a which can be instance ID.none and a regular fight instance ID, which cannot be none. I see a worm with teeth. I mean, it pretty much is. It's in still. Especially since getting the permissions wrong on this could result in erroneously letting an LLM RM-RF. Yeah. But really, anytime there are permissions on any system, it typically means that there's some damage that can be dealt. And that's, I think, why it's really important to test permissions. Because if there was no damage to be dealt, you probably wouldn't need permissions. All right, what else do we have here? Have enough game content to justify this? Is it worthwhile to do this? How do we show the tips? Oh, yeah. How do we show you tips on how the boss works? Okay, so that should probably be on the tooltip, maybe. Or maybe the tooltip on the location changes. Like right now it says the ogre dwells here. The ogre's just really strong. And this one says the dragon shoots a fireball at everyone in your party every so often. I guess you'd also need to know how many adventurers you can have. Yeah, that's another thing I gotta do. This has different requirements for starting a battle. The boss sometimes only allows 2 to 3 adventurers. Should we change that maybe? Maybe every boss lets you have up to 4 adventurers and then there's no problem. Change tooltip if boss is showing. So there are a couple of cases we got to consider. One is that the boss is showing because it's your first time through the map. And the other is that you want to repeat the boss battles after beating the game. So after you've beaten the game, you should still be able to start an elite battle, and we'll need to tell you what the elite has. So I think we just put that on the, yeah, maybe move it to a tooltip. This could also show the boss rewards on that tooltip and the boss gimmick. Just have ask the user to decide. Sounds good. Yeah. Yeah. And the ultimate test is whether someone can rm-rf their whole file system. And if they do, then I guess he'll fix the bug right after they don't have any files. What happens after a battle with the boss? Can you click repeat and have it fight the regular location? Yeah. So what should happen in that case? Let's restart this. Go back into a new game over here and fight this and win, and then go into this and win. So here it says you can only fight an elite monster once, choose a different location. So this indicates you can't repeat this battle in particular. So you would click edit and you'd go right back to the canyon, but now do a regular fight, I guess. Oh, is that best? Because we could have it so that you could just click repeat and it's going to go into the canyon. But I think it's better to keep the behavior we have now. Yeah. So I think we should keep the behavior we have now. I think it's clearest how it operates. Can you tweak the repeat to say return to canyon battles? I could. I think what's nice about this is that it's going to be the same behavior whether or not you've unlocked repeating boss battles, in that this will only ever try repeating the boss battle. And it also lets you know that you can't fight that boss again, which otherwise the user wouldn't know. So now they're going to do this and be like, oh, now I can fight in the canyon. Okay. So I'm hoping this helps out. Oh, also the other thing is this makes it super clear you're fighting a boss. Yeah, there. All right, anything else that we have to answer here? possible instances. Shouldn't be too bad. Just check if you, no, that's the looping stuff. Okay, so yeah, what else do we need to do? Where's the conclusion that I had? Here they are. Okay, so conclusions. And this is in the scratch thing, right? Yeah. Conclusions and to do. So no looping, adding a few locations and expanding the battle. Okay, so we won't loop the battle map. It's just too much of a UX mess. We'll add a few locations and expand the battle map slightly if necessary. Make boss density much higher than it currently is. Sparseness will be front-loaded to be able to express boss strategies. And then locations will be this stuff. So forest, technically, we're doing it this way. We're saying that the canyon has the ogre. This has none. The mines has the phoenix. Oh man, I don't know. All right, fine. We're gonna have to think about this a little bit more. So this should be no boss, or none, I guess. Jungle has plenty. Yeah, I messed all this up, didn't I? Oh man. So this is the boss at the location, but I don't want the volcano to have this. So I guess we do it this way if I'm gonna do this at all. But the mines can't just be in the middle of nowhere. Could we get this to work? So you go to the canyon, then you go over to the mines, and you go up to the volcano? Or the mines are just in the middle of nowhere? Hey, Pedro. Hey, Fat Filter. This guy's leaning live. What an angle. This is, i.e., fight the ogre to be able to fight in the canyon. Phoenix, plant, enchantress, slime, dragon, yeti, snake. So mines would be none. Yeah. And then if we want... No, I think it's fine. Swap mountains and deep forest positions. I don't think we need to do that necessarily. But if we did, I don't think it's going to change too much of the map. We could either put the deep forest there, or we could put the mountain first and the deep forest just after it. Oh, mines in deep forest. So the dragon would be in the mines. Yeah, that could work. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Mines could be off to the west of the volcano a little. Yeah, it's just they would have been like in the ground. I'm picturing a mountain mine, like Lord of the Rings. But yeah, this can work. Also, this isn't super important one way or another. We could have just called everything a variation of the forest and just stuck every boss in there anyway. So, but let's see, at least thematically. So ogre being in the canyon, I think is fine. This not having a boss is okay. Phoenix in a fiery area, plant in the jungle area, enchantress in the crypt. Waterways has a slime. Yep. I think everything makes sense. The only thing that doesn't really make sense is the snake being in the like fiery pit of the ground. Whatever, it's the final boss of the game. And I think it's kind of funny if that's the case. So, yeah. All right, so what else do we need to do? We need to show bosses on the overworld. Show bosses on the overworld. These only show when you've never beaten the boss before and you're in story mode. Yeah. So this is only enabled if you've never beaten the boss before and you're in story mode or you're in bone mode. And maybe you've never beaten the boss before? Yeah. Snake final boss available on round 3 of the forest. There's the there's a regular snake that actually never shows up in the game after the intro cutscene. Hey, Will, new viewer here. Welcome in. My day's going pretty well. I started with a lot of anxiety. I have much less anxiety. Oh, is that huh? My green screen wasn't covering all of the backgrounds. Now my desk mat is not covering all of my desk. There we go. Yeah, so it took a couple of hours to get here, but we had a basic problem of like, how do we add content from a game design perspective? So we had more bosses and we had more locations. And I know if you're new here, you probably don't know what game we're even talking about. But imagine you have any game like Pokemon, for example, and you're like, I want to add 5 more regions. And let's say this is like Pokemon Red. Pokemon Red map. Yeah, so you would have already had a map and you'd have a bunch of artwork done for all these things. And now you're like, how do we add 5 more regions? It's like, well, this Route 17 is pretty long. We could probably put one there and one there. You know, there's a corner here that's not being used for anything. Maybe we put one there, maybe put one there. It's like, you got to figure out where this stuff goes. Then you got to figure out what's going to go in there, how do users access it, etc. So yeah, I spent a couple hours and we've designed something that I think is pretty good. I am quite happy with this. I think it's good that I did not just keep moving forward. So now here's our set of conclusions and our to-do. Is there anything else I need to do for this, I wonder? Let me look at these mock-ups again. So we should probably do a final mock-up that has all of the right bosses in the right locations. And this is as good as any to figure out what this would be. So I am not going to try to do any drawings. We are just going to make a new layer here and fill with transparency. And then we're going to... I guess we're going to need to draw a rectangle or something. So what are we adding in? We're adding the mines and the mountain, and that's after the waterways. So the waterways is going to go to the mines. This is actually going to be really hard to lay out. Okay, then here's what we're going to do instead. We're going to go into this, and we're going to turn off all of these nodes. Or no, only the ones that need to change. Let's turn off the ones that need to change. So these. Yeah. I did not make any of the art. That was all Quickie Joe. All right. So here's our picture. We plop this in. So what's going to change here is you're going to go to the waterways, mines, mountain, inferno. Waterways. No, the crypt is still, no, the crypt goes up here, I guess. Okay, so this is going to be the crypt. Probably make this smaller. Crypt. So this goes up to here. And then the waterways. I don't know why I'm drawing this instead of just writing this. And then you go down to the mines and then the mountain. Mines. And then the mountain. And then the inferno. Okay, so I've laid this out kind of poorly. Whoops. Yeah, I've laid this out kind of poorly because now we have a bunch of blank space over here. But I think we just expand this a little bit. No, did I swap something? Oh, I forgot oh my God. Okay, I've messed it all up. And I think this picture that I'm drawing is going to help. So I do want to make this look correct. So the deep forest was moved. Maybe I should, what emoji would work for this? That one. Okay. So deep forest got moved and everything else is in the same positions. Yeah, so we gotta change this. I guess we just delete all of these two. Because the deep forest comes before the volcano now. Yeah. All right, well, then let's just delete the canyon as well. There. Now we take a picture. And now we work with this new one. And now I will just use text blobs here. So let's just write them all out. Canyon, deep forest, volcano. I'll put this on my other screen so I can just see them all. Deep forest, volcano, jungle, crypt, waterways, mines, mountain, inferno. Okie dokie. Now we put that on a new layer. I guess it's already on a new layer. Can I do this? Yes, I can. Okay, so we want to do that for all of these. And there's probably a better way to do this, and this is why I don't like using GIMP for this stuff. Yeah. But whatever. This is what we're doing now. All right. Just 2 more of these. And 1 more. Okay. So now we can get rid of this as our layer and then move all these where they're supposed to go. So the first one is supposed to be the canyon. I don't even know what layer that is anymore. Huh, how'd I mess this up? It's clearly on one of these layers. I just can't find it. Oh, there's another layer at the top. Okay, I see. All right, so we move this down to, whoop, that didn't work. Oh, right, because you got to move it by the actual pixels that are filled in. God, that's so stupid. All right, so canyon is first, then the deep forest. Then the volcano. Then the jungle. Maybe loop it around the right side of this. And then the crypt. And the waterways. So we loop back over to here so that we can get to the mines. And then be in the mountain. And then the inferno. Okay. Just had 3 increment them. Jungle 1, jungle 2, jungle 3. Hey, that's what they used to do. You fight a wolf and then you fight a red wolf. Okay, so is this using the space well enough? It's a little bit hard to tell because we should have these nodes everywhere. Crypt, waterways. I don't think we're using the bottom right all that well. We could maybe move the mountain even farther down. Maybe this goes here. And then up to the jungle over here. Crypt we move down a bit. Waterways we move down a bit. And then mines into the mountains. And put the inferno off to the bottom. Something like that. I want there to be a little bit of breathing room, that was all. But I wonder if we've put in too much maybe. Yeah, I just want to move the waterways now, just to be here maybe. Okay. All right, that's good enough. So now let's draw a bunch of arrows. I'll put this up here. And we'll do this. So that way we can tell what the progression is supposed to be. So like this. Good. There. Hey, Dozy. Welcome back. All right, so now I want to copy all of this into the Google Docs so I never lose this. because I think this is pretty important. That paste is just the layer. Let's export this as a bitmap. New map. Okay, now it's the only thing that's on my desktop, right? Atom, desktop, new map. Okay, so I want to put this in the dock. Also, how large is this image? Where did the get info thing go? There it is. 561 kilobytes. Okay, that's not bad. I just want this to be like super gigantic inside of here. Okay, there we have it. Yes, how many locations? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, perfect. All right, and then what I wanted to do is draw out all the bosses too, but I'm not going to do that. Oh, the reason I wanted to do that is so that I could figure out what it would look like in terms of, like, we're going to show the boss only when you've unlocked the location. Yeah, I think it'll look good. So what else do we have here? Oh, this isn't even true. These only show when you've never beaten the boss before, when all of the following are true. You've never beaten the boss before, you're in story mode, and the location is the latest location. Or like the last unlocked location is the location with the boss. So this means we're gonna have to change, yeah, this part here. 2 different battles they can start. So there's 1 location and it's 2 battles. All right, that might be a little bit difficult based on the code we have. And then add a fight elite button above start battle. This is only enabled if. How about this only shows? Oh, yeah, it's only enabled. Basically the same as this. Different requirements for starting battle. The boss sometimes only allows 2 to 3 adventurers. Change location tooltips. Maybe move it to tooltip on fight elite. Yeah, so what tooltip should we show on the location? If you haven't beaten the boss, I guess we say what the boss is. But if you have beaten the boss, we would say what the regular location does. Yeah, so if the boss is showing, just show the tooltip for the boss. If the boss isn't showing, show the tooltip for the regular instance. And always show the boss tooltip on the fight elite button. Okay, good. And then we got to change a ton of content around and change tips and some other things that we have here too. I'm going to write all this down. Hey, Seshamara. Hey, check it out. I got Weblate set up for Skeleseller. Although I haven't finished putting all the languages and everything else. I'll do that some other time. Okay, the other tasks that I have, I think, are all written in here. And thankfully, I wrote them ahead of time because I might have forgotten about some of these. Once locations no longer accessible, stop needing those. So, oh, this will never be a problem either. This goes into this thing about why this is a good idea. We never need to stop customers from desiring certain items, since you'll be able to get any item at any time. Since you never lock out any locations. Yeah, by the way, I do appreciate the nudge toward Weblate. I think a couple people were trying to get me to use it, and it's not until I actually kind of set it up and realized how much time it would be saving me. Now, the setup process itself was not fun at all, but I wrote a bunch of notes on it, So if anyone ever wants to set up Weblate for themselves and use the same setup that I had, then I can eventually share these notes. But yeah, I have it running on a mini PC. And actually what's kind of neat about this is it's running on just localhost / 3010. And the way that it's actually accessed through this is through a Cloudflare tunnel. So Cloudflare is connected to my machine and knows how to serve this thing over HTTPS. And then as a result of using a reverse proxy, I needed to set up a bunch of custom things here to get the IP addresses to be reported correctly, to get some other thing. There was some CSRF error that was going on. And these two properties took me a very long time to find. Because what I had been trying up until this point was this without Weblate on it. And that didn't work. And then this needed to be a certain format. And I like wrote a little Python server that would tell me what headers Cloudflare is sending me, and then set up a tunnel on my Mac to, anyway, there was like a whole bunch of things. And then while I'm doing all of this, the power goes out and it shuts down both of my computers. I'm just staring at a blank screen and I'm like, oh, please don't have this happen again. I was slightly miserable, but I finished at like 8 p.m. last night and yeah, it's working now. Not a fun time. All right, so what was I doing? I was going to go through this and get any other to-do items. Bosses only show to make it clear you can battle them. Free up location to be used for regular fights. You would still have to upgrade the port. Oh, we need new maps, right? But that's not necessarily artwork stuff. We need new instance maps for battling. We may want different ones for bosses versus regular fights. Contact Darkstorm about this and see if he can help out. He made one for the mines already. I think we even have that somewhere. Yeah, mines at TSCN. So we have one for the mines. What does that look like? Yeah, this is pretty good. I like this. So we don't need to do anything special here, except maybe the fiery stuff. So I think it's okay for the mines to be near fire, but they're going to lead to a snowy area, which is then going to lead to a fiery area. So I almost wonder if we should replace this with snow. If those notes are shared. Oh, yeah. They will be shared. It's just a matter of when. So they'll be on that site, and then you'll just need to search for Weblate. But it's not there yet because I just haven't made them public. But I could actually do that like this weekend, maybe. So I'll write that on my list of stuff. Make notes public and ping Seshamara. Yeah. Bookmark regardless. Yeah. Yeah, and there's some stuff here that is, well, I don't know. I think it's all pretty clear, actually. I even wrote the things about like setting up a new GitHub account, a new Gmail address, getting the SMTP set up for Gmail. Surprisingly, and I'm not actually sure how this is possible, but I had Kevin try this and it didn't end up in his spam folder. I would have expected it to end up in spam. So I hope it's just fine for everybody. Crystal Caverns. Actually, yeah, the first Crystal Caverns thing I probably experienced was, what, Yoshi's Island? What was that called? Crystal Caves? Was it called Crystal Caves? Yeah, Crystal Caves. Yeah, this had pretty good music. And maybe we replace them with crystals. When you write Godot, do you use GDScript? No, I use C#. All right, what else am I missing from this? So unlock is going to be before that. Yep. May need to think about how this impacts the demo versus the final version. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. What are we going to do about that? I don't know. I'll write it at the end, though. Make sure the demo doesn't let you get past a certain point. Maybe we start the pruning process. I don't know about this. All right, but I'm glad I had this written down. You can no longer repeat boss fights. We're repeating the map. Don't need to vary by this. Things to keep in mind. Wait, there's something else that was supposed to be on this list. Did I skip something? I guess this is no longer necessary. Bosses should show up on the map to make it clear when you can battle them. I have that written down. Upgrade the portal. It's not a thing anymore. The demo I just wrote down. This is already handled. This is not a thing anymore. None of this matters. Yeah, none of that matters. Another cutscene. We got rid of this. Okay. Yeah, I think we're pretty much good. So change tips, change a ton of content. So like enemies, quests, items, and adventurer unlocks and building unlocks. I think all those things need to be changed. And then keep in mind that any instance / enemy data may need to change for bone mode 2. Cash shop. Change tips. One tip says that you unlocked the volcano, but that's not how it'll work. May need to change NPC dialogue. The guildmaster says something about defeating elites. And then eventually we need to add content, add each boss fight. And what else? I don't know. Yeah. Test for pacing, test for balancing. Pacing, timing, and balancing. Pacing and timing are kind of the same. Maybe pacing duration. Does story mode take 5 hours? And balancing. What level do you end up beating the game? Are there any lulls? I think that's pretty much it. So it's going to be like code this stuff. Hey, again, player. Start working on this. And this should link directly to that header, right? Yeah, good, cool. Hey, Tranquil. New and Godot, I have some struggles to make simple games. When I watch a tutorial, I understand the code and what the functions do, but I can't reproduce or adapt what I learned in my own projects and ideas. Even if I learn what X, Y, Z do, I forget how to actually use them in my code. They often feel copy-paste. I pick up small things. I can't keep them in mind well enough to reuse them. Maybe some people get that problem as well. Welcome to the stream. So I think this topic comes up a decent amount, and it's sort of getting like stuck in tutorials or on tutorials, I guess. And the way I kind of think about this is it's easier to consume than it is to produce. So when you're going through a tutorial, you know the project you're going to make through the tutorial, and you know that they're going to only lead you through the correct steps. And maybe some of the better tutorials might say like, you might have an inclination to do this wrong way, but here's why it's wrong, and here's why the good way is better. But in general, I think what you need to exercise is your own agency here and your own kind of like thought process. So I would say anytime you like, I would say this. For one, take a look at this page. This has a list of games that you could try developing yourself. You might have done some of these through a tutorial, but I would say even if you have, just try it again. So Pong is the simplest game on here. And with any of these games, so like Pong, for example, you're going to come across some number of problems. And I consider any project to just be a problem generator. And that's a good thing when it comes to learning. So your first problem is going to be something like, how do I render a paddle on screen? And then from there, you might say like, how do I get a paddle graphic in the first place? And in this case, it's just a rectangle, so you could just draw it yourself. But if it were like a spaceship or something, maybe then your next question is like, how do I learn how to draw? But anyway, you can tackle this to whatever depth you want. Once you get the graphic on the screen, then you might ask yourself, like, how do I get the paddle to move? And like, how do I handle input? What's the best way? And with any of these problems that you ask yourself, try to answer it yourself as well. And if you don't have an answer, then once you find the answer, go back to your thought process and figure out how you could amend it to have found the answer quicker. And I'd say probably part of this is take some notes as you're doing this. Like you're learning techniques, you're learning new ways of doing things. Probably write down how you did some of those things so that you don't need to keep like funneling all of your code into your brain and then process it and come up with, here's the solution I did in the past. It's like that's what your notes could do for you, is bypass that process. So yeah, I think it's a combination of just kind of trying things yourself, trying to steer away from tutorials sooner rather than later. And at some point, you know, you'll eventually have coded Pong. You could move on to one of these other games here, Flappy Bird, Breakout. These are also pretty simple. Or you could just say, you know what? I like the Pong foundation that I have. What if we added in power-ups? When the ball moves over a certain thing, I want it to speed up, or I want it to produce a second ball, or I want there to be, if you ever played, oh God, what was it called? Kirby Breakout, I think. Is that what it's called? What's that Game Boy game? List of Kirby games. It was block ball? Yeah. Okay, yeah. Kirby's block ball. So this had kind of an interesting idea. This isn't really exactly Pong, but it's kind of like what the game was. It was like a combination of Breakout. But the Pong idea that came in here is that some of the levels, there's no example of this here. Oh man, some of the levels had multiple paddles, and some of them actually had 4 paddles, and you control them all at once. Yeah, like this. So you actually had a paddle at the top, bottom, right, and left. And pressing up would move both the side ones up, and pressing left would move both the top and bottom ones left. So yeah, anyway, you could just keep adding on to things and eventually get it to be a totally different game. And that'll produce more problems for you, because that's all a project is, a problem generator. Hey, Filler, thanks for the raid. How'd the stream go? And hey, David. Did you just say make roguelike Pong? I mean, you could. I don't think you probably would want to. But yeah, Ball X Pit is a good example of taking the breakout base and adding onto it. Yeah, and we've kind of seen this happen actually to the point where you see Jetpack Joyride here as a standalone game. This game is nuts in terms of what it did for what was originally like a helicopter game. The original idea behind this is sort of like what Ball X Pit did. You are controlling a character that can just move up or down. Actually, you don't even move up. You don't move down on your own. You only move up on your own. So you just cause your jetpack thruster to go on, and then when you let go, you fall to the bottom of the screen. That is a very simple game. This originally existed years and years and years ago as just you move up and down and you avoid obstacles. And then Jetpack Joyride added in coins and power-ups and different events that can happen and like a whole bunch of crazy layers on top. And I imagine, I don't know how much this game is made, but I imagine it's made quite a lot of money. And Ball X Pit has been doing really well. And that's taking Breakout to the extreme. It's, yeah, 6,000 overwhelmingly positive reviews. So I think that's another nice thing. Just you can always build on games you've already done. I remember Helicopter Game. It went well. Started working on my TikTok share feature and my invites feature. Nice. Yeah. Yeah, how are you liking streaming in general? Oh man, so the coolest Pong I've ever played was Plasma Pong. I don't know if there's still a picture of this online. Yeah, it was, well, the gameplay was just Pong, so it actually wasn't too interesting in that. Oh no, it wasn't actually just Pong. You could like manipulate the ball a little bit, I think. But it had all these really cool plasma effects in the background. Yeah, it's crazy looking. So sometimes you can do that with games too, where you take a foundation of a game and you don't even change the gameplay. You just start making it look crazy. And in some sense, it's kind of like what Geometry Wars did. The gameplay was pretty fun, but also just the number of effects that were going on. Oh, there's a Steam page? Oh, cool. There's no video, though. Yeah, the video would make it even cooler. I'm kind of surprised they don't have a video. They just have like 14 screenshots. Isn't like at least 20% of the fun of this game seeing all the crazy effects that happen? Release date 2007. Okay, that's probably why they don't have a video. Yeah, Tetris Effect, same thing. They just took Tetris. Well, I mean, they own Tetris, so they didn't need to worry about any sort of lawsuits. But then they just made it a very immersive experience. Now this, I would say if you're learning game dev, I would not go this route. If you're learning something like shaders or you're learning how to do whatever 3D animations or something, then I might go this route. But otherwise, if you're learning game dev, I'd probably focus on gameplay. It's pretty fun. Used to do quite a bit in the past. Because I haven't streamed in a while, I feel like I've lost all my followers. Just need to stream more consistently. Yeah, I think growing on Twitch as a software dev is very tough nowadays. I got my first kiss while playing that game. Oh, man. Hey, Cammy. I also used Tetris as a base for my first commercial game. Oh, cool. Yeah. All right, so I am pretty happy with all the stuff that we've talked about today. I do need to merge my branch, my localization branch. Using locations, adding content, bosses, and yeah, this is great. And then that. This we're already doing. Yeah, nice. I'm about to lose. How can I distract you? Oh man, I was ending my stream to go buy lunch. I think I'll be back here in a bit. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna go take my lunch break pretty soon too, and then I'll be back in a bit as well, and I'll probably start coding this afternoon. So finalize the design for reusing, not even reusing locations, for locations slash bosses. The plan is no longer to reuse them, but to have unique locations. Have unique locations, yeah. How long has it been? It's been about 3 hours. Yeah, this is pretty good timing. Like I said, I'm very happy about this. I've been saying that a lot at the end of these streams, which I think just means that things are going well and that I have learned a lot about what processes work for me. And I would say one of the biggest lessons from all of this stuff is if something doesn't feel right, don't start coding. Like, design more. Because if I were to code any of these things that didn't feel right this week, I would have probably spent minimally 2 days of coding that would probably get thrown out. And that was true with the translation stuff we were talking about, and that was true with the reusing locations. And who knows what other number of examples I could have had if I'd remember them all. But yeah, there are lots of times where I feel like just designing was the best idea. So when we come back from the lunch break, it's about 11:30 now. How'd you solve the translations? So I ended up using Weblate. I mean, I haven't solved it, I would say, but I at least had the community contribution thing set up. So someone can come in here and click this, and we'll eventually have more languages. And they can click, actually, I could just share this link. There's nothing stopping you all from seeing this too. And you could just go in here and click on translated string. You need an account for this. So I need to give someone an account. But then once you have an account, you could just type in what the Spanish is for this and click save. And then I click a couple buttons and it's in the game. So yeah, at some point, I'm going to need some people to help out with this. Yeah, Weblate is open source, and that site happens to be public. I could make it private, but I thought maybe some people want to see what needs to be translated first. The only thing I'm a little bit concerned about is some information shows even when you're not logged in. Like here I'm logged in, but if I'm not logged in, some information shows that I'm not totally comfortable with having it show. Like if I click this, you can see in the history, it says Kevin modified this. There's Kevin's picture. That's all fine. But if you click Kevin's name, okay, this doesn't actually show anything bad. Let me see. I mean, all this is public anyway, so I guess you'd be able to click these things too. Yeah, okay, never mind. Nothing shows here. Maybe it's when you're logged in, something more shows. I know his name is showing. His name is public on GitHub already. Anyway, yeah, that's it for me for now. I am going to go get lunch. So I'll be back in about an hour. Can't trust a Brit. No, it just shows that as the default language. There's probably some way to customize that, but he's actually Spanish. Yeah, I'll be back in about an hour, and then I hope we'll start coding some of this stuff. We will almost certainly not finish anything significant today, but that's okay. I just want to get a head start on this stuff. So thank you all for watching. Thanks for being here. If you'd like to join Discord, here's a link, and I will see you in a bit.